Hey guys, today's episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast is presented by Cedarville University. We love having them as partners with us here at Sports Spectrum. They are one of the leading Christian universities in the country. They're well known for their excellent academic programs that equip graduates for lifelong ministry and service, including their new Master of Athletic Training degree. Cedarville's athletic training program is accredited by the Commission on Accreditation of Athletic Training Education. Basically, that means it's a big deal and it's done properly. Students are taught by outstanding professors who are experienced in the athletic training profession, including Program Director Mike Weller, who has worked with the Cincinnati Bengals and the NFL. And what sets Cedarville's MAT program apart is the opportunity for students to earn a bachelor's degree in sports medicine, a Bible minor, and the Master of Athletic Training in just 5 years. And it's all from a biblical world view. And they also offer a 2-year standalone master's program for students who've already completed a bachelor's degree elsewhere. Now, I got to tell you, recently I was on Cedarville's campus, and I can attest how wonderful their facilities are. They have amazing academic programs. Their faculty is second to none. In fact, the MAT is hosted and housed in newly renovated spaces with the latest technology. So I want to encourage you to visit cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about this innovative Master of Athletic Training program. That's cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about the new Master of Athletic Training program at Cedarville University. Check it out today.
Welcome to Sports Spectrum, where we bring Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, former ESPN producer Jason Romano.
And hi, everyone. Welcome to Sports Spectrum. We are the intersection of sports and faith. That's what we're all about here, and we're so glad that you're tuned in to our show today. Our email address, jason@sportspectrum.com. If you want to reach me directly, you can email me. If you have a guest idea or a show topic, something along the lines of a guest for the show or a story we should be writing about, you can email me, jason@sportspectrum.com. And our website, all of the free content is available right there at the website. Articles, devotionals, podcasts, you can check it out at sportspectrum.com. Again, all free, and it's the perfect type of content that you can share with your family, that you can share with your kids. Sports and Jesus, that's what we're about here. You can check it out at sportspectrum.com. Now, today on the show, we welcome Kirsten Watson to Sports Spectrum. She is the wife to Benjamin Watson, a longtime NFL tight end. And Kirsten is just awesome. We had an opportunity to sit down in person and talk about her brand new book, which is a really cool title, I think. It's called Sis, Take a Breath, Encouragement for the Woman Who's Trying to Live and Love Well, but secretly just wants to take a nap. You won't find a sweeter woman around than Kirsten Watson, a mom of 7, an author now, and just balancing a lot of things, but doing it really, really well with Jesus out in front. And what a perfect type of conversation to have when you think about what's taking place in a couple days here with Mother's Day 2022 upon us. And certainly happy Mother's Day to all the moms that are listening out there. I hope you really enjoy this conversation with Kirsten Watson. She's awesome, and she joins us right now on Sports Spectrum. Kirsten Watson, welcome to Sports Spectrum. I feel like I know you, have known you long enough now where saying that it shouldn't feel like the first time, but I think it is.
It is. It's kind of crazy. I see you all the time.
Right?
I said the conference is doing this, but it's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. We've had your husband on, Benjamin, of course, many times, and now retired Benjamin Watson, which I want to talk to you about playing versus retirement as an NFL wife. But I want to start with your book.
Yes.
Sis, Take a Breath. Encouragement for the woman who's trying to live and love well, but secretly just wants to take a nap, which I feel like isn't just the women. It's all of us.
All of us.
That just want to take a nap. Congratulations. It released May 3rd. Tell us about the book.
Yeah. So the book was just honestly what happened over the last 16 years of us being in the NFL and just realizing through all the ups and downs, there were times where God was always talking to me. And so it's just nice to be able to see something in print. But man, it's a compilation of stories, but really it's just encouragement for the woman wherever you are, to know that God sees you and that he's with you. And whether you're surrounded by triumphs or right now trial, you can take a breath and you will get through it.
It feels like we've all had to take a breath, not just the ladies, but all of us over the past couple of years since the pandemic. By the way, this book is releasing May 3rd. I see May, I think Mother's Day. I think the guys who are listening to this show need to be thinking about a Mother's Day gift. Kirsten Watson's book, Perfect Gift.
There you go.
So as I think about taking a breath, what has that been like for you the last couple of years, just trying to take a breath through everything that we've been going through?
Yeah, well, I think the main point of taking a breath is really just pausing, right? I think sometimes what we realize, we were just kind of going through life, and that happens. You kind of go through this schedule of here, especially in the NFL. It's like, okay, it's off season. Now it's OTAs. Now it's training camp. Now it's season. Now it's off. So you just kind of get in this rhythm of life, and you realize it's kind of passing you by. And you notice there's things that are really hard and things that are good through it. And the last couple of years have just reminded us that we just need to take a break, a pause, and realize, like, what is happening? How am I reacting to it? And how do I best handle the situation that I'm in now? So that's what it's taught me. It's given us a lot of time to breathe and to take inventory of what's really important.
Yeah. I mean, and you have 7 kids. I think
yes.
I look at you, and when I talk to you, whenever I see Benjamin, I always say, he'll say, how are your kids doing? And I'm like, remember, I only have 1. So I feel inferior talking to somebody with 7.
No. You should. I always say it's never a race.
Right.
And being in charge of one other person is a lot of work. So listen, it's a lot. It doesn't matter how many it is.
Well, so is 7, by the way. That's a lot. Describe your household when you and Benjamin are home, because you're both busy.
Yes.
You release a book, so you're going to be talking about this book and doing interviews and the like. You're also a mom to 7. You're a wife. Benjamin, obviously involved in so many things. He's released books, and being a former NFL player, he's just getting calls left and right to do things. So you're both traveling. You're both busy, but you're both trying to maintain a household at home.
Right.
Raising 7 kids.
Right.
What is life like? Describe it right now.
It's busy. We have 4 of the top. We call them the top 5 and the twins, because the twins are just the twins. 4 of the 5 are doing activities after school now. And so we literally run a Uber service. Once we pick up, we're back and forth to the school for track. We have karate, we have ballet, so we have tennis. So we're all over the place. But we really as hard as it is, it sounds weird, but we realize that that's our responsibility, right? And so there's a part of it that you can choose joy in all things. And we realize that this is just a season. I mean, our oldest will be going to college soon, and it's just going to, again, life is ticking. As long as we're here, it's moving ahead. And so it's hard to be present because there's so much going on, but we realize that, that's our main, I was like, being a wife is my first priority, and being a mom is my second. Really being a daughter of the Lord is my first, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I have those responsibilities, and everything else kind of falls after that.
Do you think that's something that over the years you've learned, that we kind of screw that up a little bit, the order, right? I mean, as much as we all want to say God is our first priority, and even as much as we want to say our marriage is the next priority, when we have kids, I know that happened with my wife and I, we suddenly turn to just focusing on our kid, our daughter. Right. And I tell my wife now, as my daughter gets ready to go to college, I'm like, we're going to kind of have to relearn how to be married again, which sounds terrible because we've been married 20 some years. Right. But at the same time, it's a different stage of life. And we poured so much into our daughter that this new empty nest, just us again thing has to happen. How have you sort of managed that and navigated that world of trying to prioritize your marriage with 7 kids and then also your faith in the Lord? Yeah, so
quite a few ways in recent times that we were going through the Bible together, Benjamin and I, and so that has been it's been super fruitful for us to just spend time in the Word. And then, in passing, I'll be like, did you read what happened? Did you notice that before? And like, we're just in passing having breakfast or doing something. And so that's been kind of a cool way for us to kind of minister during the day. But again, I talk about this in the book. Like, someone once told us that, you have to make it a priority. And so even with 7 kids, we do date night. Now, is it every week consistently? No, but it's pretty close. Because, and I tell my kids, I love you to death, but I need some time with daddy. And I want to cut my own food and sit down and have it hot. And I will come back a better mommy because I've spent time with him. And so our kids understand that. And we try to definitely express them that we do love them, but we show them that our relationship is a priority.
Sis, Take a Breath is the new book. Kirsten Watson is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Why that title? I like the title a lot, but why that title? I'm always fascinated by titles.
Yeah, because I feel like I say it a lot. It was something that I'm always telling myself. Like I'll get kind of ramped up and plan A has gone astray and now all these things have happened and I start, kind of trying to control the situation. I was like, Kirsten, just take a breath. And I just realized in that breath, things slow down.
Yeah.
And so the idea there is, even as we're talking with our friends, I'm talking with my kids, it's a great reminder for us to just, okay, hold on, just take a breath and then proceed, And so that's where the title came, because it's something that I say a lot. And I do really feel like it helps to refocus sometime what's going on around you.
What has that taking a breath been like for you post-retirement for Benjamin?
It's been awesome.
That's great, because a lot of wives are like, I don't know this guy who's around all of a sudden now. I liked it a lot better sometimes when I had my things in order here, and now Benjamin's coming in and messing it up.
Right.
What was that transition like when he decided to retire?
I have been praying for it for a long time. He will tell you that I've been waiting for this retirement to happen probably a lot longer than when it actually did.
Wow.
But again, I think prioritizing each other, even in the season, in over 16 seasons and moves and kids, I was just ready to spend more time with him. I was ready for him to not be hurting. There's a lot of fun that happens around football, but anyone who's in football knows there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, game day is one day of the week, and hurts last a long time. So I was excited to have him home, selfishly, very excited that he would be there. And our kids love it. Our kids are loving it.
How was game day for you? Describe it like a
Crazy.
game day for you. Like, especially you didn't have all the kids until the end of his career, but what was game day like for you? Not just getting the kids ready, but watching the game. And all you got to do is watch Hard Knocks. And
Terrible.
The beautiful thing about Hard Knocks is they really take you into that, seat where the wife is watching the game, and they're more nervous than any fan because they're watching it from a perspective of wanting your team to win, but also just wanting him to do well, but also not to get hurt,
To get hurt.
So what was game day like for you?
It's funny because I am a migraine sufferer, and my migraines have subsided substantially since I don't have to worry about Sundays and Mondays and Thursday night games. It was just towards the end. I think Benjamin came out and he was turning 40. So he was playing for a long time, 16 seasons. And you just realize that everyone, he's doing awesome, but it just takes a little longer to recover. And that's hard to watch because everyone will say, oh, he looks so great on Sunday. I'm like, you have no idea what it looks like on Monday morning, And so it was really challenging to be in a place where you're watching someone you love do something that they love. And then know, too, that, if it's another injury or something else that happens, that you're the one that's there to keep everything together at the same time. So it's a challenging place, and I pray for those girls who are still in that position now.
What was that Monday morning like? Describe it, because I think when people hear that, I ask that to a lot of guys who've played. I'm like, tell me, especially the position of a tight end like Benjamin or an offensive lineman, somebody who's been in the trenches and blocking half the game.
Yeah.
Where a wide receiver, it might be much different. A running back who's getting hit, certainly much different. What was it like? Or can you take me to one of those moments when you remember where it was just like, honey, what's going on here? Like, you can't barely walk. Describe that.
That's it. It's just that morning walk and it's just very slow, and you think you're like 80, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this will get better, right? And so it's just all of the stuff that wears out, the hype of the game, all the stuff happens, and then it's like the reality, of what our bodies are. They are just flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's a tough thing to see. And I'm grateful that that time. He might not be that grateful. I'm sure he'd be ready to go play any moment he was asked, but I'm grateful that we're in our next season.
From a spiritual perspective, when he was playing, I know he was involved in Bible studies and team chapel services. Were you guys involved in couple studies as well? And were you involved in some of the women's
Yes.
leading that too?
Always.
So what was that like for you, and how did you grow into that?
Yeah.
When you're first coming into the league with him to when, you're leaving at the end.
Yeah. So when you come in, you're the newbie for sure. And so for us, it was just plugging in wherever, you can. Like there's a men's Bible study, there's a women's Bible study, and a couple. So we did all of those.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, you realize by year 5, you become like the leader. And so,
the veterans.
The veteran, because you're moving around. And so, very early on, we got kind of put into leadership positions, and it's just been awesome hosting and leading the Bible study. The year Benjamin tore his Achilles in Baltimore, he gets in the car and he's like, I guess we're going to be hosting and leading Bible study. And I'm thinking, is that the first reaction when you get in the car and your Achilles is torn? But those have been sweet times. And there's a lot of those couples that, we wouldn't have been able to maybe meet at that level because of, if he was well, but because of an injury, a season-ending injury, we were able to form some really sweet relationships.
And you guys met in college, right? At
We
Georgia?
did. We met at Georgia.
So did you have an idea or an inkling then that this leadership role, not just for him, but for you, was something that you wanted to step into even when you were coming out of college? Or was that something you kind of developed and grew into, and you had people speaking into your lives saying, hey, you are a leader, you got this, and you're kind of like, but somebody's nudging you into it? What were those early years like?
Yeah, when we first started dating, one of our dates was actually we went to a local church and we met with their youth group. So, we had no prior, training, but we together would go to this youth group. Benjamin would take the boys, I'd take the girls. We'd come together and just be real with them and pray with them. And so that was very early on, something that I knew that was in him and I think was already in me. And so that has just grown beyond what I could, and who knows what it'll lead, going forward. But it was something very early on that we both had in us.
Hey guys, taking a quick break from our conversation here on Sports Spectrum to remind you about our friends at Cedarville University. I love this place, one of the leading Christian universities in the country, and they have this wonderful brand new Master of Athletic Training program that you need to go check out. What sets Cedarville's Master of Athletic Training program apart is the opportunity for students to earn a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and a Master of Athletic Training in just 5 years. And maybe you've already got your bachelor's degree program. Hey, no problem. You'll only need 2 years to complete the MAT program. Cedarville University is the real deal. I love what they're all about. I've been on the campus, and I can attest that it has great facilities, wonderful academic programs. Their faculty is second to none, and that includes in that faculty Program Director Mike Weller, who has worked for the Cincinnati Bengals and in the NFL. So let me encourage you to visit cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about Cedarville's Master of Athletic Training program. Check out the new program again at this website, cedarville.edu/athletic training. I am confident when you check it out, you will be thoroughly impressed. Make sure you go check it out today.
Kirsten Watson's our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Again, her new book, Sis, Take a Breath, is releasing May 3rd. As people think about a good gift, a holiday gift or a Mother's Day gift, this is the perfect book to get. As you were writing this, how important was it for you to be really transparent and vulnerable, which is sort of cliched words now, especially in the faith space? Be transparent, be vulnerable. But it's not easy to do, especially when you're putting those words down on paper. But you talk about being relatable and telling these stories so that people who are reading it can say, yes, I went through this and I'm not alone here going through this. How important was that for you to sort of be that vulnerable person as you were writing this book?
Yeah, well, it was the only reason I would write the book. There's no reason. There's enough places you can go and get what you need.
Yeah.
Let's say it that way. But I think there's very few places you go and you can get the real, honest truth. The good and the bad. And I think sometimes when you're put in a spotlight, people think that is your life and it must be so easy and nothing bad ever happens to some extent. And so it was important for me to really let people into that, especially we mentioned like through our miscarriages and what that feels like. And it was very isolating. And I realized that that's one issue of many that people isolate and don't talk about. And I was going to fall in that trap until I decided to talk about it. And as a result of talking about it, more and more women all the time will come up to me and say, thank you for sharing your story. It gave me the strength to talk about something that I'd kept hidden, or our inability to have kids, or we're having fertility, all the things that happen that people just don't talk about. I think when we do that, especially as a body of believers, it really is kingdom work, because we're working and we're mourning together, we're praying together, we're seeing God move together. And so I think that the more we as believers can be honest and transparent for real, the better we all will be.
Why do you think it's hard for all of us, or why do you think we keep that inside of us, especially when you're going through a difficult moment like miscarriages? Why do you think our first reaction in many ways is to not tell anybody and to maybe isolate?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different reasons. For us, we had moved to a new place, and I felt like there was no one around that I could tell that was like close to us to come over, because we were just so new to the city. But I realized that, there are people that they don't have to be right next to you and can still be praying for you. There's people that may not be in your city or whatever, but I just think people are afraid, one, to tell because they're, embarrassed, or maybe I did something wrong. But then two, I think people are afraid because they're not sure how the other person will react. Like, I don't want to burden them. I don't want to, make them sad or make them cry. And so we don't want to put it on someone else, when really that the people who came, when we finally did tell, like the people who came around us, it was a beautiful sight. That they would cry with me, and then we had twins later on. It was like a whole different type of cry. Like, we've seen you at your lowest, and now look at this blessing. It was just really, really sweet. 2
miscarriages, and then the twins come along, and I'll never forget Benjamin catching a touchdown. And I think he put the football underneath him, and he kind of rubs his belly a little bit. And I remember seeing that and thinking, I think Kirsten's pregnant again. Now, we didn't know, I don't think at the time, that there were 2, or maybe he
did 5, because he always put up 5 for our 5 kids, but then he did 1, 2, and I was sitting in the stands like, this is how we're going to announce this? Okay, forget the whole reveal. It's just been announced.
It's a
that
touchdown.
We're having twins.
Right.
Exactly.
Millions of people are watching him catch a touchdown, and there you go.
My
Everybody
phone's
knows
blowing
now.
Up, so it's hilarious.
I can't imagine, but take me through the lessons that you were learning from God in trusting in Him, because miscarriages are a really big deal. I just had a friend of mine and his wife go through that in our small group at church, and it's really, really hard. Even if you've already had kids, I think it's hard on all levels. It's not talked about a lot, as we just discussed, but then God can really do some really cool work in the midst of those difficult times.
Yeah.
What did you learn from Him going through those difficult times leading up to the blessing of having twins?
Yeah, one thing I really remember is going back to church the first day after the first one. The first time we went back, and there were songs that I would normally sing that I really couldn't bring myself to sing.
Just couldn't do it.
I just couldn't do it. And I remember crying in the seat thinking, Lord, I want to sing this, but this means something so different now. And I think about, the time of Him reminding me of His faithfulness, reminding me that He was good. And I was like, I don't feel like this is good. Yeah. And so during that time, I just learned all the things I was singing before were true, but now I was going to sing them knowing that they were true. And so now as I think of those songs, there's certain songs that come up that I remember happening in the midst of that hard time that I can sing now and say, yes, it is true. He is good. He is faithful. And so I think that's what I learned mostly, is watching what I say and, thanking the Lord that I had an opportunity. Don't get it wrong. I miss my babies.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful that the things that I say I believe about God, I believe them now because of the things that I've been through.
Yeah, it's so difficult, too, to go through it. And, not everybody ends up with the same story that you end up with, right? So you have to be very mindful of that when you share your story, right?
Absolutely. I never say, like, the twins never replaced the 2 that I missed.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I have friends who still don't have kids now, and after tons of miscarriage. And I was like, we don't know our story. We don't know why God chose what He chose for us, but again, those words and the things that we read in His Word are true. And the twins are great. They're bad, but they're great.
How old are they now?
They are 2, about to be 3, and they are a lot. They are a lot.
Of course. Any 2-year-old/3-year-old is just...
And then you double it.
Right.
It's like crazy.
I know. And I hope the older ones, the top 5, as you said, are helping out in some ways.
They do, but they cannot wait for them to go to nap. They're like, is it nap time for them yet? I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes. So
like it's written in your book. You secretly just want to take a nap.
They just want to have some rest. So
That's so
it's good.
Kirsten Watson has been our guest. Again, this book called Sis, Take a Breath is a great one. Go out and get a copy today. Thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this, and congrats on the book. It's hard to write a book, and you did it.
Yes, it's crazy. I had good help. I had good help to write the book, but thank you for having me.
By the way, before we truly say goodbye, I do want to mention, because it's not that you and Benjamin are busy enough. You also have a new podcast too, right?
We do.
Now, what is the name of that?
It's Why or Why Not with the Watsons.
Yes.
So that is we kind of like a season 2 refresh.
Yes.
And so it's been fun. That's, again, we talked about earlier, that's one of our date nights, because it's not at night, but it's our date when we record, because we get to think about things and spend time together without kids around. So we're just finding our ways to spend time together.
Why or Why Not with the Watsons is a podcast.
Yes.
The book, Sis, Take a Breath. Thanks, Kirsten.
Thank you so much.
And again, many thanks to Kirsten Watson for being here today on Sports Spectrum. You can check out her new book, Sis, Take a Breath, Encouragement for the Woman Who's Trying to Live and Love Well. That book is available now, and Kirsten Watson is one of those moms of 7 kids. Go check out the book, Sis, Take a Breath, available now everywhere books are found. And again, thanks to Kirsten Watson for being here today on Sports Spectrum. We wish her and all of the moms a happy Mother's Day 2022. You guys are the best, and we appreciate you. Certainly a happy Mother's Day to my mom as well, Linda Peacock. She is awesome. And we thank you all for being here today on Sports Spectrum. Make sure you check out sportspectrum.com, with all of our content being available there for free, articles and devotionals and podcasts. Sportspectrum.com is the place to go. And then make sure whatever app you're listening to this podcast on, that you click the subscribe and the follow button. That way, you never miss an episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast. Again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time right here on Sports Spectrum's podcast.